Did not expect to be coming here with them losing in Green Bay. Did not see that one coming. Did not see that, and it's ridiculous because we probably should see that coming, especially offensively. That really kind of mirrors a lot of the games they played this year and the kind of the output they've had this year. I just where are you boys at? Where are you boys at? I'm coming right at it. All right, nope, the hell with the foreplay. Let's get right into sheets. Where are you boys at right now? Because this feels like in the Mahomes era, this may be the lowest Chiefs fans and people have felt about the Chiefs.
So I don't know at what point I really felt like for the first time that the Chiefs were the team to beat in the AFC. I would say like 2019 really was the start of that, because 2018 was still the Patriots and you knew like, okay, you got to get through them to be the team to beat. And they didn't. They lost in overtime. And so you got into 2019 and it was like, okay, the Chiefs are the team now and they have taken over. And for however long Mahomes is here, they're going to be that team. And there's going to be individual seasons where that's not the case, just as there were with Tom Brady, where there were individual seasons where it's like, man, they're not the same squad that they were previously. And Ron, that time has come. For the first time, in my opinion, since 2019.
I thought Joe Burrow had taken it from you. I think you were scared of Joe Burrow last year. I thought Joe had taken it from it.
Yeah, but the Chiefs were still the team. Even if I was terrified, the Chiefs were still the team. The Chiefs were still the team, right? And I don't know that I can say that right now. Now, I don't know that anybody has actually taken the mantle of being that team in the AFC. You could say the Ravens, but I don't know what they look like without their number one weapon outside. You could say the Dolphins, but I don't know what they're going to look like when they have to go potentially on the road in the cold in the middle of January. And I don't know what they look like against playoff teams, because so far this year they sucked against them. I don't know what Jacksonville is going to look like without their quarterback, who is currently dealing with a high ankle sprain. I don't know what the Texans look like without their number one wide receiver. So nobody has really like grabbed that from the Chiefs. The problem is the Chiefs seemingly have just smacked it away from themselves, because I can't trust them right now, Ron. I can't trust this offense. This defense, while being really, really, really good, has moments where they are just so incredibly frustrating, just like this past week in Green Bay. So for the first time, and really as long as I can remember, I don't think the Chiefs can honestly say that they are clearly, definitively, no doubt about it, the team to beat in the AFC. And that's sad, man. That sucks.
Last week against the Packers, I think the Chiefs got the ball twice in the fourth quarter where, they could go drive and make a play and potentially, like tie the game and get back into it. And that was the first time all year long where I was like, no chance. No chance they're going to
One of them, they just needed a field goal once.
Yeah. And it's taken me this long to get here. Like that I every week I kept talking myself into it. Like, if they can just turn the corner, Mahomes can right everything and they'll figure it out eventually. And last week, the way that they started that game and the way the Packers played all throughout the contest, I was like, the Packers have this. I am not worried about the Chiefs offense. I don't think the Chiefs offense is dangerous, and I do not think they are going to go score and somehow come back and win this game. And they absolutely did not do that. So I agree with BK. Like, I think the AFC is still totally wide open. Like, I think the Ravens are really good, but not having Mark Andrews hurts, and their defense is spectacular, but I still have huge questions about their offense too. But I still think the Chiefs are an AFC contender. I still think they're one of the absolute best teams in the AFC. I just don't think anyone in the AFC right now is anywhere close to the top guys in the NFC. And that's really the issue, is like, can you beat the 49ers when they're at 100% health? And I don't think the Chiefs can do that.
Ron, I've been through the 5 stages officially. Like, I had the denial, I had the anger, I had the depression, and I think I've reached acceptance. I've reached acceptance with this offense that they are super mid. Like, they are just the most mid of mid offenses in the NFL. There's nothing special about it other than the fact that they have this Ferrari that's driving everything, but there's just nothing compelling about watching them play offense right now. And it doesn't really matter the opponent anymore. So I've accepted our lot in life. This is a team that has a middling offense and a really good defense, and we're just going to hope like hell the bounce of the ball goes their direction in the playoffs. But in the meantime, they're like a 10-7, 11-6 type of a team, and that's just who they are.
You know, you talked about the 5 stages. I think I have been in many of them as well. And I got to a point where kind of what you said, man, this is just who they are, man. Like, there is no flipping the switch. There is no, they've been playing around. Like, when you play about 8-9 ball games like this, and you've only played 13 of them, this may be you. And just overall as a team, but then, like, even from, I feel like in the last 15 hours, I have kind of made a change. In fact, I did. Hell, I went on with somebody, and I'm certain I said that the Chiefs were going to lose this game. I said that, but I feel, I don't know, man. I just have to ask myself, and I'm listening to you guys this, and I was asking myself, all right, am I ready to have lost faith in the championship medal of this team? And that is Andy, Mahomes, Kelsey, the interior guys, Pacheco, Chris Jones, Snead, the whole crew, Nick Bolton. Have I lost the belief in that? And not yet. Not yet. I feel like
so you're still in the bargaining. I get it. You're still in the middle of the stages. I've been there, man.
I feel like the wrestler who had the hand down, and they pull it up, and he brings it back down, and they pull it up the second time, and he brings it back down, and then Hogan stops it and still sticks his hand back up. I'm not there yet and ready to not believe that group can. I'm not going to say they can figure it out, but I mean figure out how to win this way. I'm not ready to give up the belief of that yet, because I think if I get to the stage of acceptance where you are, it is I have given up the belief in that crew. And I mean, they are testing the patience. They pushed me, because I felt that way most of this week. After that game, I wasn't even mad. I just said, this is what happens. This is the kind of team they are. I'm not just quite ready to give up on that. I'm befuddled by this offense. I honest to God, like we talked about it. You just said it. We talked about it. I don't understand it. I don't understand how it works so badly. I don't. I'm befuddled by it. I don't. Every week, every single piece of it struggles. Is not just one part of it, as sometimes it is just everything. The tackles. I mean, the tight ends, the receivers, the quarterback, the running back is punching people and getting himself. I mean, it is befuddling that every week we see what happens. They've come off the bye week, and I'm still looking up at 19 points. Like it's just 17, 19. Like it is just, I can't understand. It just does not make sense to me. The parts that they have over there, the parts that's running things, and they cannot figure it out.
I don't understand it either. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I've been trying to look for explanations, answers, whatever, and I can't really find them, man. Like, we were talking about this a little bit before the show. I think a lot of it comes down to MVS is just not the player that he was last year. But, man, when I think back to last season, I didn't feel in the moment as though MVS was just this integral part of the offense, but apparently he was, and I underestimated how important he was last year. But
here comes Serda.
He had a decent playoff run. That's it. That's the only thing anybody remembers about last year.
He had 700 plus yards receiving last year.
Yeah, and he was really solid for the most of the season.
Can't be anywhere close to that right now.
I don't think he's on pace for it. That's for damn sure. He's at, where's he at right now?
500
yards. Hey, they would connect downfield.
He's on pace for 400 yards this year.
They would connect downfield. We can remember the Bengals game, the Niners game.
He had big plays, and that's what you assigned him for, right? He did his job. He wasn't great, but he did what he was brought here to do. And this year, he's not doing that. So they're dropping the ball. The tackles have been so much worse than anybody could have possibly expected. And I'm actually excited for Wanya Morris to get an opportunity this Sunday against the Bills. This is a really good team to do it against because they don't have a great pass rush. But I don't get it either, Ron. And the way that I would say it is this. My current view on the Chiefs is as follows. I don't think that they are I no longer expect them to get to the Super Bowl. I think they can, but my expectation is not at that level any longer. And I think that's the difference between where we are now and where I was even as recently as the Philadelphia loss. Like after that game, I looked around, said to anybody that would ask, I would say, they would ask me like, hey, how you doing, man? Fine. Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl still. Like, it's cool. It's a regular season game. They lost to the Eagles. It was a really fun, good game. They lost. It happens. They're still going to get to the Super Bowl. The thing that changed for me this week is I no longer necessarily feel that way. And that's what's changed.
But I will say, I'm still at the optimistic side a little bit more because of that Eagles game, because they went toe to toe with that team. And if it wasn't for stupid mistakes and dumb plays, like they win that football.
But that's no longer a random event. Like those things happen every week, man. Every single week.
Yeah, and I agree. And that's why I get frustrated. But I'm still like optimistic. Like they can compete with those guys. That being said, I'm not very confident about that this week because I think Buffalo is way more desperate than the Chiefs are. And I think that's the problem is the Chiefs go into Lambeau Field, go play Jordan Love. And they're like, we already seen this guy. Like we killed him last time we saw him. We know what he's been doing this season, whatever. They're on a nice little run. They haven't played anybody like us. And I don't think they took that game very seriously. I hate
when you do that. I hate when you do that.
When they step up to the level of the competition they're playing, they can compete with anybody. And that's why I'm still optimistic about them. But I just don't think that they're desperate enough this week.
I think
as the Bills are.
Here's a question for you guys.
Stop letting them off the hook, man. You got to quit saying that when they keep doing it. They keep doing it. Like,
so here's my question for y'all. Is your faith that you remain having in the Chiefs, is it more about the Chiefs or is it more about what currently surrounds the Chiefs in the AFC? Like if I flipped the Chiefs today with the Lions and put the Chiefs in the NFC North and now suddenly in the playoffs they're going to competing with the likes of the Chiefs or the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the 49ers. Do you still have the same faith? No. Or is it because of the surrounding teams that exist in the AFC that you have this faith in the Chiefs?
I think I have more faith of it, but no, the Niners just looked really, really good in their last couple of weeks. But I don't necessarily I think the Chiefs defense is for real. I think they've had a last couple of weeks, and God bless them for looking human a couple of times this year. But I think the Chiefs defense can keep them in there. I think they can keep the game down, right? Like they did against the Eagles. I think they can keep the game down. Now it's just, will this offense not shoot themselves in the foot? Will they not make the mistakes to get them there? So listen, I feel much better about the AFC because of the guys that they have. The teams in the AFC are not as stacked. Like the Eagles don't scare me. We just talk about the Eagle game. I think the Chiefs literally beat themselves repeatedly in that game.
So did the Bills when they played the Eagles, for what it's worth. The Bills should have won the game too.
Well, the Cowboys had some weird stuff happening in the game. They played against a guy not catching the ball and turning at the right time or feet stepping out of bounds. So the Eagles have now the Niners are something different too. But I
think you can make a pretty strong case. The Chiefs' losses have all been them beating themselves this year. Like if you're optimistic about the Chiefs right now, it is for that reason.
This one didn't feel that way.
Oh, really? I felt like it was. I still felt that way because it's the turnovers and it's the drops.
It's the turn in the Packers game.
Yeah.
That interception. If he doesn't throw that interception, I think the Chiefs win that game.
In the drops.
What was the drops? I'm missing.
I mean, MVS specifically would be probably the biggest one.
What drop did he have? What drop did he have in the Packers game?
Deep down the middle.
It was like the pass interference. I mean, he didn't have a chance for that. But
what I didn't see. I mean, I didn't. I get. I don't know. I didn't.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but
major drops. They misconnected where he went. He went in.
He had another one where I think he just MVS didn't finish off the route.
Yeah, it's for me. It's to the point you made. They make these mistakes far often, and it is becoming the norm. And I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. That's the best thing to jump to kind of solve this if they just didn't do that. Like for me, if they in this game, this is the first game to me. The Denver game, you turn the ball over 5 times repeatedly, you're going to shoot yourself and injure yourself. So I'm with you on that one. But I mean, this one to me, the Packers were the better team the whole way. Like I mean, like there was some penalties, but I think there were penalties that the Packers forced. Like I think their pass rushers forced some of those penalties down there. And yes, the pick was big, but man, I don't know about you. I didn't have confidence that they were about to drive that thing down and score. Like I didn't have yes, the MVS penalty was awful as not as awful, but as bad as the Mahomes out of bounds hit. It was awful. But was I like, yes, they're about to punch it in and get two? I like to see the Chiefs have the opportunity, but I sure as hell didn't feel great about it, especially with them struggling in the red zone all night and not coming close with that 2-point conversion they tried earlier. So to me, this was the first time where it was like, well, the Packers just were better. And if the Chiefs were to win that game, they would have stolen it. Like to me, Philly stole the game from the Chiefs when they won. The Lions to me stole the game when they won because they, how they won that game. I wonder if you all feel this way. This was my concern the last 2 weeks. To me, it feels like the offense is almost affecting the defense. And it's been slow starts or whatever, but it just felt like, I don't know if the defense or whatever is getting a little bit frustrated or something with how much they are needed and called upon. I don't know what it was. The last 2 weeks, it just felt like this weirdness of this offense that they cannot believe is performing the way it does. Like that Philly game, it just seemed like, damn, what the hell else can we do to get, and we got no help in that second half from our offense. And not just no help, they just kept shooting us and putting us in bad situations. I don't know. It felt like to me they were almost affected the last 2 weeks.
See, I didn't feel that way. I felt like it was a weird start to the Raiders game, but they settled things down pretty quickly. And I think a lot of what happened in this Packers game was circumstantial. And I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but I think the defense has earned the benefit of the doubt. If this was the offense that did it in the game, I would be speaking differently right now. The defense, I feel a little different about. When it comes to the injuries, and you lost Drew Tranquill in the middle of the game, you've got a guy that's playing basically his first ever snaps in the NFL, and Jack Conklin. And man, when Andy Reid comes out and says, yeah, he was fine, and doesn't really add anything more to how he felt about the way that you played, speaks pretty highly to how he felt that you played. It wasn't exactly a great game by him. He did what he could, though. He's not supposed to be in that kind of a spot. Brian Cook goes down, huge injury. Absolutely massive injury for the Chiefs secondary. And when you've got those two things that took place in the middle of the exact same game, I think it just completely changed the way that they were able to play. And then you add on top of that Jordan Love having one of the games of his life, and he's just on an absolute heater right now. You add all of that to the Chiefs defensive line not getting any pressure on him. And Ron, we talked about this. When Jordan Love is not pressured, he is fantastic. When he is pressured, he is terrible. And they barely were able to get any pressure on him. That's kind of the way that we expected that game to go in those circumstances. So the injuries plus Jordan Love just having a spectacular game, I don't necessarily feel like that was a game where the defense felt like they couldn't do anything more. I think they flat out got beat, unfortunately.
It's just, I don't know, that the intensity level from the jump and throughout just didn't seem to be there. Like that was kind of obvious to me in that.
The AJ Dillon continuing to roam through their second level of the defense, that was surprising to me. I didn't see that one coming early on.
Yeah, it's just the slow starts was just really, really strange. So I don't know, man. I'm not ready to just say, hey, I've lost belief in that championship group, but it is befuddling just where they are, and it just doesn't even make any sense at all. All right, when the Chiefs get the ball, I think the biggest thing we got to look at right now, and this is becoming a major concern, is this Pacheco hasn't practiced this week. All right, and you miss Wednesday and Thursday. You don't practice. That is not a good sign at all for you playing. And I'll be honest with you. Hell, I thought he was going to get hurt 3 or 4 times in that last game in some of the ways his body was contorted and tackled in that game. But he has a shoulder thing, and I mean, I think there's a fair argument that he has been the most consistent weapon on the offense throughout the season. And really, it seems like the only time that he hasn't been really productive is when he's not given the opportunity to be productive. And that is something that they seem to have done well. And I think they can run on the Bills, particularly if they have him. This is a huge development if he can't go.
It's massive. It sucks. He is such a big part of their offense right now. Like last week, one of the things that went well, and the funny thing, man, the offense actually really wasn't that terrible last week in a weird, strange, roundabout way. Pacheco was really good. Kelce was good. Rashee Rice was pretty good. Those are the guys that you're counting on for much of what you're trying to accomplish. And Pacheco was the guy that was driving most of that offense. He brings a physicality that this offense really needs. And when you've got Wanya Morris in there, man, Wanya's really good at one thing right now at this point in his career at left tackle. He is an excellent run blocker, and he is a punishing run blocker. And that is a complete change of pace from what you have when Donovan is in there at left tackle, because he is a terrible run blocker. He's okay in pass pro, but terrible in the run. So this was the week where you could have really leaned on Isaiah Pacheco on the ground, especially running to that left side of the line. And if he's not going to be able to play, I guess it's Jerick McKinnon week. And we just have to hope like hell that he's actually going to be healthy. Stop it.
It's Clyde. It's Clyde.
No, it's not.
Even if Jarrett goes,
it's Clyde, man.
Clyde's
Clyde's time.
No.
I'm dead serious.
10 plus touches, even if Jerick McKinnon goes. I don't think so. Jerick McKinnon, the way they've been managing him is actually weird, because last week he was like full participant all week, and that was after missing the previous game. So it seemed like he was going to be back, and then they ruled him out. And then this week starts off limited. Now he's been full on Thursday, and so I assume he's going to be full on Friday too, while he's dealing with this groin injury. Some of that might be veteran stuff, but they're not going to give Jerick McKinnon 15 carries. It's just not going to happen. Clyde's going to get 10 plus touches in this game if Isaiah Pacheco doesn't go.
Yeah, you hope he goes. They need him to go. They need him to go. And you brought up something.
Maybe LaMichael P. Ryan will get called up from the practice squad.
I mean, if he can't go, I would expect
start having a serious conversation.
I mean, this Kadarius Toney maybe gets a few more touches in the backfield. Maybe I can't believe I'm saying this. Maybe they scheme some stuff up for Sky Moore in the screen game. Like those are the kinds of things that you probably have to do in order to just like add the passing elements to your running game, because you can't rely heavily on Clyde. Get out of here, guys! Stop it.
You made a point there that I absolutely I'm ready to see Wanya. I'm ready. Like, to me, I am hopeful that Smith doesn't play.
It's Andy Reid when he spoke to the media on Wednesday was basically just like, yeah, Wanya's gonna start.
And by the way, he should start even if he was healthy.
Yeah,
I'm ready to get a look.
To be available.
I'm ready to get a look. I'm over that on that side. I think he's not getting called for enough penalties, to be personal with you. I'm just saying, I see him hold all the time. And there are so many times I look over there and he's got a full hug, like his arm wrapped around defenders. And I'm like, well, got away with that one. And he is like, he's the worst. He's like my son, who is just floored when I'm sitting and watching you, son. I watched you. You ate that fruit snack and you threw that paper right on the ground. And now I'm asking you to pick it up and stop throwing it on the ground. And you've looked at me like you have no idea. He does that after he blatantly holds people and has no clue. Like I'm over him. Hey, you made a mistake. Let's see him. Let's see him. It felt better over there with Wanya, and you may need to help or whatever. And like, to me, I think it has to happen now, and to have him get the reps so he's ready in the playoffs. Like I am ready for that. I'd like for him to change his number, but I'm ready. I'm ready for the Wanya Morris train.
It's a tough tackle number. It's a tough.
It is. It's a tough one. It's just a tough number in general. Listen. I'm so annoyed with them. I really am. Just watching them. The offense is just so infuriating to watch them. And then in the red zone, I almost flipped over to Real Housewives of Potomac last Sunday, just when they entered the red zone. It is annoying. And listen, in this game for me, I'm going to keep calling for it. Baby steps. Last week, I did too much. I asked on Sunday Night Football, let's see a vintage Mahomes performance. Nah. I'm not even gonna do it. Can y'all just not shoot your own toes off? How about we do that? And it's just so many different variety of ways they are into doing it, from penalties to the offensive line throughout. Whether they're random, right, or whatever. Creed Humphrey, I don't know if that's a hold. Everybody who played center said it wasn't. Whatever. The false starts, Juwan Taylor, you know what's coming. The penalties throughout, the miscommunications between the quarterback and the receiver, and the turnovers. All right, it just can't happen. Just like if they don't, it's repeated every time. If they don't shoot themselves in the foot, they probably got a chance to win these games. They have a chance, and they just repeatedly do it. And that's all I'm asking. Like, we saw it against the Raiders, where at least they didn't turn the ball over. Now, they still had penalties, and there were still weird things, but just do that. And if they got to simplify things, man, they got to simplify things. All right, man, at some point, Andy or whatever, if we just don't have quarterbacks and receivers who can ever be on the same page when it comes to a side adjustment, well, maybe it should just not be a side adjustment. Maybe it should just be, hey, boss, you got to post, and you got to post, and both Mahomes and MVS know that you have a post. Like I don't know. I don't know what happened, but they got to simplify this. It's too many times a game where they don't know.
It's so incredibly frustrating. And if you can get to everybody on the same page, I don't even know that we can ask that at this point. We're past Thanksgiving, man. This is who they are. Like, it's the old Belichick thing. Once you get to Thanksgiving, that's when the real season begins. Well, since Thanksgiving, this offense has not looked particularly good, and that's where we're at right now. Just no turnovers, limit the penalties, try to avoid the sacks.
Limit, yeah.
Like, so much of this is just as simple. Like, avoid the drops. If you catch the ball, if you don't put yourself into 3rd and 15 situations, you got a pretty good chance to be able to continue to move the ball, because when they're not doing those things, the offense has mostly been okay this year. It's not explosive. It's not what it was, but they can still move the football. What this team can't do, Ron, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier, they cannot overcome mistakes. They just can't do it. They used to be able to. When you had Tyreek, you can erase a 3rd and 15 like that. When you had last year, like, all of the options that were available to them, and maybe Kelsey was a little bit better, Juju was available, MVS was a better version of himself, you were able to convert on those 3rd and longs. This year, you can't. Mahomes has been sacked at some point this season on 15 different drives. Those drives have resulted in a total of 2 touchdowns on the season. 15 drives with a sack, 2 touchdowns. The Chiefs have had 33 drives this season that included a penalty on the offense at any point on that drive. Only 8 of those drives ended in a touchdown. The Chiefs, when they get behind the sticks, cannot overcome those mistakes this year the way that they've been able to in the past. So you have it exactly head on, Ron. Avoid shooting yourself in the foot. If you can move the ball against this defense. This is not a very good defense, but the one thing they do is they do create turnovers. You got to avoid that this week.
I really agree with Ron's point about just trying to simplify things and just, look, diagnose. We know Andy Reid is an incredible play caller. We know he can look at a defense and say, this is what I'm going to call, and this is what I think will work against that. But dumb it down a little bit. Make it simpler for the guys on the field. Make it easier, and make it easier for Mahomes too, because we understand that Patrick Mahomes is capable of running this insanely complicated offense to perfection. But the problem right now is that everyone else involved in the offense isn't capable of doing that. And that's why we see the mistakes constantly. And I actually talked to our friend from BuffaloRumblings.com, Jay Spencer King, earlier this week about the Bills and kind of what's working for them offensively. And there's the whole Ken Dorsey thing. They fired Dorsey, and now it's Joe Brady. And he said that the Bills' offense has been better, even though it was still pretty good. It's still better than the Chiefs statistically prior to them firing their offensive coordinator. But he said the biggest difference is that Joe Brady simplified things, because Ken Dorsey, they were going out of their way to try to keep Josh Allen from running, to try to keep him healthy and preserve him from getting banged up and all of that stuff. And they were just overcomplicating everything. And so now with Joe Brady, he's just leaning into the running game, and they're utilizing James Cook and Latavius Murray. They're doing more Josh Allen design runs. They're doing things to try to open up the passing game on the ground first and simplifying everything else. And the Bills have still been losing football games because of bad mistakes, but the offense has been playing better. Like they haven't gotten the wins yet because they've had some other bad luck things happen. But I think the Chiefs could definitely learn something from that. Like, Andy, let's just simplify things because it's obviously not working with these guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. The simple stuff is what is working, and it is Pacheco, because like the damn, like, I'm not going to say it's not impossible to understand, but when you just think of the elements of Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Isaiah Pacheco in a successful run game with Travis Kelce, and they can't figure out the red zone. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, and then you look at it, like, even, the tackles, they struggle, but they cannot figure out it's not like there are teams that you're like, all right, boy, once you get from 20 to 20, because they can't run the ball, that's why they struggle in the red zone. There's no element of that. They got all the pieces where it doesn't make sense that they are just struggling so much in the red zone.
Ron, the Indianapolis Colts are averaging more points on the season than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hey, Shane Steichen has been amazing.
You cannot convince me that the Colts have a better offensive roster than the Chiefs. There's no way to do so. It is literally impossible. The Chargers have scored the exact same number of points per game this season as the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is despite the fact that the Chiefs, by the way, have scored on defense as well. So some of that is being included in these numbers. Like the Rams, same points per game this season as the Chiefs. These teams, in my opinion, my humble opinion, should not be better or the same as the Chiefs offensively. And that is despite me also acknowledging they have some serious roster flaws. Their tackles have not been good. Their wide receivers are not good enough. But you just mentioned it, Ron. Rashee Rice is a really solid and talented football player. He can help you. Travis Kelce is still really freaking good. You have an awesome running back and an interior of the offensive line, even if we concede that the tackles are bad, an interior of the offensive line that's still pretty good, even if they're underperforming relative to expectations. So it's still there. It's all there if you want to be able to make it work. But the Chiefs, for whatever reason this year, haven't been able to.
It's weird. We'll
gotta get it figured out.
I mean, they've got Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, a good running game, and Kelce, who attracts more attention than anybody in the red zone. And like sometimes we'll see Justin Watson has just caught the ball and he's standing all alone. We'll see that sometimes. We've seen that in the end zone, but just the consistent level that they struggle is baffling to me right now. And like, and I say, when you said simplify, that's what I'm thinking. Like, if you think about the things that work, Isaiah Pacheco, that simple run the football that has been successful, or quick screens. Let's get it out to Rashee Rice real fast. Those things have worked. The simple things where the ball is out really quick. It is these. All right, man. Pat's gonna read and then the receiver's going to read, and they're going to read, and then they're going to come out and make. And now Pat's holding the ball long, and then the tackles give up. Like it's just because that starts bringing to the big point of mistakes. Those keep bringing mistakes. Mahomes going to hold it longer, which means he's holding it longer with an offensive line that is, especially the tackles, that's not really geared right now to allow you to hold the ball. I'm just like, to me, I'm almost like, hey, boss, hey, man, if you don't see it, if it ain't there, like get 5 yards, run it, slide, get 10, don't just sit back and hold it and make plays that ain't happening. Like let's get it right there. So to me, just simplifying this thing is hopefully something a major key. I don't know what they did during the bye week, but it's not seemed like they have figured it out at all. All right, when the Bills have the ball, I think I even tried to, in a way, like downplay it. I can't do it. This is a big game, and a big game for the Chiefs to almost a game they got to win. The Bills are desperate. The Chiefs are kind of desperate too when you think about the 1 seed and just the psyche of who they are, right? That means Chris Jones, man. I tried to downplay it last week, and I thought he attracted a lot of attention and had a couple of rushes, but it needs to be a dominating the game type of performance. We've seen him against Jacksonville just wreck the game on like 27 snaps. We saw him against Philly just take over drives at times. This has to start with Chris Jones up front. And Spags, whatever you got to do, this has to start with Chris Jones completely impacting this game in a major way.
You just can't blitz Josh Allen. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important that they get home with 4 in the front. And that goes against everything that Steve Spagnuolo stands for. Like, he is not a guy that wants to get home with 4. He's a guy that will bring that extra pressure. But if you do so, all you're doing is taking a linebacker out of the lane that Josh Allen will then go ahead and run with. Like, the guy runs like an ostrich, and he is amazing with his legs. And if you allow him to continue to run and roam free, he's going to take 10, 15, 20 yards at a time. He'll play physically. He'll play with speed. Like, it's a real problem. So I don't think you can blitz him, and that puts so much pressure on your defensive front that has not been getting home in recent weeks, Ron. That is something that has gone under the radar a bit. They have got to be better, and you put the pressure on the guy that it needs to be on. This is Chris Jones time, man. It is officially time for him to come through in a big game. He did it pretty well against Philadelphia. There were drives that he himself crushed. He ended them. This is another one of those games where he's got to come through with big moments and with big sacks when they need it. So I hope that he's able to do it. I'm waning confidence that he will, though, honestly.
I feel like they haven't been catching enough heat, honestly, the last 2 games, because it's not like they were bringing consistent pressure with the front against the Raiders, and it certainly wasn't the case against the Packers. And that was a team that we talked about last week. Like, the Packers offensive line has been like rotating guys in and out mid-game and changing up the formations and changing up where guys are playing because it's just kind of a mismatch of whatever they have available. Like, that's an offensive line you should be able to win against. And I think that was the most disappointing part about everything. And I understand that the Packers game plan was get the ball out quick. Don't give them time to blitz you. Don't give them time to bring the heat. And that's where Chris Jones has to win. Like, George Karlaftis, I think George has given you more than you ever could have wanted so far this season. Mike Dana has given you more than you ever could have wanted. I want to see more out of Charles Omenihu because I felt like he came back from suspension, started really hot, and it was like, oh man, this defensive line's got a chance to be something special. And since then, he's just kind of faded into the background. And same thing with Chris Jones. Like, he'll make a play or 2 a game, but we need him to be that game wrecker. He needs to be that guy. And you mentioned it, BK. Like, he's drawing a lot of attention, sure, but the other guys were winning off of that. But that's the issue, though, is that, like, you need those guys to win by themselves. It can't just be because of the Spags blitz is why they're winning. Like that's just that's the bonus. That's on top of everything else. Spags will throw that at you too when those guys are coming after you and there's nothing you can do about it. But teams are finding ways to beat that now. And so those dudes have to win those matchups individually up front. And they especially have to do it against this guy because Josh Allen will run. He'll run for 100 yards if you give him a chance. He has no problem doing it. He welcomes contact. He's fine with it. Like they got to get home and they got to put pressure on him because that's how you create turnovers against him too.
I feel really comfortable with Nick Bolton coming back in this game. And I also feel really comfortable with last year's game plan. I thought Steve Spagnuolo last year against the Bills was amazing in that game. I believe there were some injuries there, and they held them down pretty well. And I mean, that Bills offense was a lot better than it was this year, than it is this year. And the Chiefs defense is better than it is last year than it was this year. So I love the game plan that he had, and I feel pretty good about that thing. And I just think you got to let Josh be bad Josh. Right. And to me, he is somebody who cannot help himself. He is somebody that it's just trained in him to try to go for the big play and make a big play. And you gotta help him, allow him to be Josh. And he will make mistakes if you allow him to eventually. And I feel good about what Spags did. And I don't to me, I feel like the last couple of weeks are, hey, the Chiefs defense, they're not going to be perfect in every game, right? And even in the second half, they really shut down the Raiders, to be honest. And last week, I can chalk it up to just one of those weeks because the rest of the year they have been absolutely amazing, just amazing. And so I think they can be the real catalyst to this thing. But I feel pretty good about Spags and his game plan. I don't love that Cook is out. I feel. By the way, what is it, a sprain? Like he did not break that?
Yeah, I mean they said that it wasn't broken. The Chiefs don't ever offer up any specifics, but it's just listed as an ankle injury. Like they don't ever give you anything on it.
Yeah, they didn't put him on the season-ending IR or anything. So that's
I think there's no chance he's playing this week, but it seems like they're optimistic he's going to be back pretty soon,
which is crazy. But I like what they have done. Now, I think Josh is coming in fired up and desperate, which I don't know if that's not a bad thing for the Chiefs. Now, he can go off and play like he did against Philly, and now you got a problem all day, or he can play like he's played most of the season. And so I like the matchup pretty much for what Spags is able to do with this group.
I don't love it. I don't love it at all. It does not make me feel as good as it does for you. You're right though. Like the belief that you can have in this is, hey, Josh's going to mess up eventually because he does. If you just roll a 6-sided die, Ron, and you picked the whatever number you want, right? The odds of it landing on that number is the same odds as any drive so far this season from the Bills resulting in a turnover. They have gone 8 straight weeks with at least one turnover in that respective game. And when they commit multiple turnovers in the course of a single game, they are 1-5 on the season. So they've done it 6 times, and they don't win when they turn the ball over multiple times. If the Chiefs are able to come up with multiple turnovers in this game, they will find a way to win. And Josh Allen is the type of guy that'll do it. He'll fumble. He'll throw interceptions. He's going to force it into small windows. If he is confused, he will just rifle it in there because it's YOLO time, because his name is Josh Allen. And that's why he's not going to win Super Bowls, because he can't put together multiple straight weeks of him playing just really solid football. He does not have that in his DNA. The problem is he can also put together one of the best games you've ever seen by a quarterback. He's also capable of doing that because the guy is an alien with the way that he's able to perform both on the ground and through the air. So he's got both of those things in there for him. It's a very Jekyll and Hyde type of a player, but the Chiefs need to bring out a lot of the bad if they can.
Does their desperation scare you? Is that what it is? The desperation of their team in this game for them?
It's a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of things that are going against the Chiefs right now. One, they are desperate. They could not be any more desperate. I think their backs are so against the wall that if they lose this game, I think their season is effectively over. We'll get into that a little bit more coming up here in just a little bit. But on top of that, they're coming off of their bye. They are getting more healthy offensively. The Chiefs are not particularly healthy on the defensive side of the ball, even though they are getting back Nick Bolton. They're banged up in the secondary now with Brian Cook, and a lot of guys are just really banged up in general on this team right now. So I don't like the health factor. I don't like the rest factor. I don't like the desperation factor. And man, Josh Allen has just been really good in his career against the Kansas City Chiefs. I know, Ron, you mentioned you liked what they did last year, the game plan against Josh Allen with the Bills. Man, he still put up 330 yards through the air and ran for 35 on the ground. He's just a really good player. And when he's on, he's one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the league. His A game is unlike just about any other quarterback in the league, not named Mahomes. So yeah, all of that scares the hell out of me.
No, he can have that game, but even in that game, they were able to hold him down in points wise. But I do think the Bills' offense has probably taken a couple of steps back from that, and I think the Chiefs' defense has probably taken a couple of steps forward from that.
I also this week, and I feel like it kind of flew under the radar because of how excellent they've been. Like, I need to see Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed make plays this week. Yeah. Like, they need to create turnovers. They need to be impactful because we didn't really hear their names a lot against the Green Bay Packers. And Sneed didn't have a terrible game. He did give up a couple of big plays, and I think just overall, like, it was just kind of a lackluster performance from the defense. They've done enough. Like, they've carried the team enough this season. They get one occasionally. Yeah.
I also think a lot of that was the field, and I'm not trying to give them an out, but I honestly think the field was a factor for their defensive backs last week. I really do.
And
but there are a couple of plays like you're talking about. Sneed just said, "To hell with it. I'm not going to cover the third of the field that I'm supposed to." Yeah. Because I'm out here trying to make a play.
He tried to jump. He tried to jump a pick and got totally caught. And they need. This is a game where I totally agree with everything BK saying. Like, Buffalo is so desperate right now, and they're coming off their bye. They've spent 2 weeks thinking about this game and thinking, like, we got to get through the Chiefs, and then we got the Cowboys, and they got a really tough schedule ahead, but we can do this because we think we're a Super Bowl caliber team if we can just turn the corner and turn things on. And the Chiefs can effectively end their season while keeping their hopes for a playoff bye alive if they win that. But I don't think that it starts with Mahomes and the offense. It starts with the defense and what they can do against Josh Allen. Can they create turnovers? Can they get pressure? Will Sneed and McDuffie have a huge impact on the game? And I think that's what really matters on Sunday is, like, can those guys go out and make plays and force turnovers?
And when you say Sneed and McDuffie, I that's where it still comes back to what we started off when the Bills have the ball with Chris Jones. And Chris Jones, and not only his ability to personally, create pressure, but his ability to, because he's such a problem, that it opens up things for Amenahue, and it opens up things for George, and it opens up things for Mike Dana, and it opens up things for everybody else. So that is, and their line is beatable. They've got guys that he can take advantage of, and they can take advantage of. So it'll be big there. All right, sort of go ahead and grab my music. You know how I do it here. The segment that is sweeping the nation. Certified or imposter? Is this certified or this is imposter? The Chiefs can absolutely close the door on this Bills run if they win Sunday. They can absolutely close the door on this Bills run if they win Sunday. Is that in the cards?
Certified. Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
If the Bills lose on Sunday, they're done. They will then come back home and take on Dallas, who is better than them. They will then go on the road at the Chargers, and that could be a 50-50 game. Who knows which team shows up on either side of that one. And then later on in the season, they travel to Miami to play against the Dolphins. And if at that point they've already lost against the Chiefs, they lost against the Dallas Cowboys, they'll probably be, if not eliminated, pretty close to being eliminated from the postseason. I think they're going to lose that game. And the Dolphins might be playing for number 1 seed aspirations there. This is it. And that's why I bring up, and Serda brings up, and Ron, you brought up the desperation point. This is everything. And it's not just for this season either. This could be it for their head coach. This could be it for Stephon Diggs. this could be it for this era of Bills football. Now, that doesn't mean Josh Allen's going anywhere. He might be like the lone survivor of what comes after this season if they decide to move on from a bunch of different people inside of that locker room. So I don't think that they've played a more important game, the Bills, in the regular season in the last 20 years. Like, this is that kind of important for them. It's certified.
It is certified with a capital C. I'll take it a step further. It's not just this could be, it will be. Sean McDermott will get fired. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired before the season ended. They're going to find a whole new coach. Stephon Diggs has been trying to get up out of there for a minute, and I think he'll get up out of there and find a new spot to go to. Kansas City, but whatever, he'll get up out of there and want to go somewhere else. They're going to completely start this thing over. If they lose. As you said, man, there are a lot of guys that they would run this thing over. Complete change. I mean, they got people up here talking about comparing things to 9/11. Going around in this building. I mean, they got a lot
their
of
coach had to send out an apology for that, by the way.
Yes, they got a lot of shoddy stuff happening right now. I think it's probably going to happen anyway. But if they lose Sunday 6-7 coming off the bye week, no. The Chiefs can end. Honest to God, if the Chiefs beat them handily, I would not be surprised if Sean McDermott got let go. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat them handily. That coming off a bye week, it's over. We know it's over. I mean, they've already fired Ken Dorsey. He was the first one to have to take it. It'd be over. I definitely think it's over.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's certified. I actually said before the season that I thought last year's Bills team was the Super Bowl team, was the team that had a chance to do it. And then Von Miller goes down. And before Von Miller got hurt, that defense looked like it was just going to wreck teams, and they looked like the best team in football. And then Von Miller went down, and he was brought in because they've invested a ton of high-end draft capital in that defensive line, and it was all underperforming year after year. They needed a game record. They needed a closer, and it was Von Miller. Then he suffers the knee injury, and he simply isn't the same player at this age anymore. So they're on the hook he's got all kinds of off-the-field issues right now. They're on the hook for a bunch of money with him. Ed Oliver's about to be a free agent. Tre'Davious White just suffered his second very serious injury that he's probably going to wind up being a release candidate at some point down the line here. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, who have been staples in that secondary, are old. Like, the roster's just expiring. These windows don't last forever, and the Chiefs already got a head start on it by moving on from Tyreek Hill and building it up and acquiring draft picks and getting younger and younger. The Bills have still been stuck in this window right now. And if the Chiefs beat them on Sunday, it is over. Like, they just don't have enough young talent on this team to say that you believe they can come back next year when they're going to have free agents. They're going to have guys that they have to make tough decisions on and get rid of and walk away from, because they've got a bunch of money invested in the defensive side of the ball too. They're not in a great position past this season, and they don't have a ton of young talent that you can really hang your hat on. So I think it's absolutely over if the Chiefs beat them on Sunday.
All right, prediction time. Desperate. We just discussed how desperate Buffalo is, and I think the Chiefs are pretty desperate too if they really want to keep this 1 seed situation in play. I'll go with you first, BK. What's your thought?
I don't do this often, but when I do, it always comes back to bite me. I'm taking the Bills in this one. I think the Bills come into Kansas City because of their desperation, and Josh Allen has a monster game. Bills end up winning this thing 31-20, and that does not mean that the Chiefs season is over. That doesn't mean that they're a bad football team. It does mean, though, that the 1 seed might be out of play at that point in time. They've got a very easy schedule to finish things out with the final month of the season, though, and I think this is more about the Bills and where they're at than it does about the Chiefs. I think the Bills come in and they win by 2 scores.
Go ahead, Serda.
I also have the Bills winning 21-17. And part of this is because I'm just hurt that I continue to believe in this Chiefs team and they continue to let me down week after week. But I think part of why I was so confident they would beat the Packers last week, even though the Packers are this young ascending team and they're surging right now, playing really well. Matt LaFleur's a great head coach, play caller, who's really got them figuring things out. Like, I think the reason I was so confident that they were going to beat the Packers last week is because I was like, yeah, but the Chiefs are a Super Bowl contender and that defense is elite. They haven't faced anybody like that. Like, they haven't faced any defense like this Chiefs defense. And they played a huge letdown game. So I'm at the point with them, and I already told you guys how I felt about the offense in the fourth quarter of that game. Like, I'm just at the point with this Chiefs team in a big game until they prove to me they can go out there and win and not make mistakes. I'm just not going to pick them anymore. So I'm going with the Buffalo Bills 21-17. I still think it'll be a close game. I just don't have any faith that the offense is going to go out there and drop 30 points or something.
Yeah, you're just hurt. I mean, right there, you said I'm just not going to pick them again. I think we see the Chiefs A game. I think we see the first chance where we'll be sitting here saying, oh, here they go. I did not feel this way earlier today. I think the Chiefs' desperation will match the Bills' desperation. I think they're in that place. They've had to sit here and not just listen to it. It's one thing to listen to it. They've had to get to accepting, like, nah, man, what people are saying ain't nothing wrong. Like, they right. They right. Are we going to do something about it? 31-10. I got the Chiefs winning 31-10. A game. Well, I said their A game. Their A game ain't going to be 21-4. 31-10 in this game.
That'd be awesome.
No, I think, like I said, do I believe? Am I ready to, as I kick this thing off, am I ready to shake the belief of all of those champions in that room? I can't do it. I can't do it. And
by the way, if you listen to Hot 103 Jams tomorrow, meet the Chiefs.
I was in a different place. I told you I had a prediction, 24-17 Bills. I was in a different place. But now I feel different. 31-10. Which one will be right? 31-10. Chiefs. We'll see. And I promise you, if it goes that way, I will not boast because I certainly didn't feel that way all day. But I like the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Both of them are desperate. I'll take the Chiefs. We are out.